There's a strange moment that happens right before something in your life finally changes, and most people miss it completely. It doesn't look like a breakthrough. It doesn't feel like success. In fact, it often feels like everything is falling apart at the exact moment it's about to come together. And if you're in that space right now, where things feel uncertain, heavy, maybe even a little pointless, then this might be the message you didn't know you were waiting for. Because what you're feeling isn't random. It's a pattern. And more importantly, it's a signal. Think about the last time something meaningful happened in your life. Not something small, but something that actually shifted you. Maybe it was a decision, a realization, or even walking away from something that once felt important. If you rewind just a little before that moment, you'll notice something uncomfortable. Confusion. Doubt. A strange emotional tension that didn't quite make sense at the time. It felt like standing in a room where the lights were flickering, not fully dark, but not clear either. That in-between space is where most people turn back. Not because they're weak, but because they misinterpret what's happening. You've been taught to associate clarity with progress. That if you're on the right path, everything should feel aligned, smooth, and certain. But real growth rarely announces itself like that. It disrupts. It unsettles. It asks you to keep moving even when the map disappears. Imagine walking through fog. At first, you can see everything clearly. The road, the direction, the distance ahead. Then slowly, the fog rolls in. Visibility drops. You can barely see a few steps ahead. And your instinct tells you to stop. To wait. To go back to where things were clear. But what if the fog isn't blocking your path? What if it's focusing you? Because now, instead of overthinking the entire journey, you're only dealing with the next step. One step. Then another. And another. Until suddenly, you're out of the fog, standing somewhere you couldn't have reached if you had turned around. That's what this phase is doing to you. It's not punishing you. It's refining you. You might notice it in small ways. You start questioning things that once felt normal. Conversations feel different. Certain environments don't sit right anymore. Even your own habits start to feel out of place. Like wearing clothes that used to fit perfectly, but now feel just slightly too tight. That discomfort isn't something to fix immediately. It's something to understand. Because it's showing you that you've already outgrown something, even if you haven't fully stepped into what's next yet. And that gap, that uncomfortable space between no longer this and not yet that, that's where the real transformation happens. Most people try to escape that space as quickly as possible. They distract themselves, they go back to old patterns, or they rush into something new just to feel stable again. But when you do that, you interrupt the process. You trade a real breakthrough for temporary comfort. Instead, what if you stayed with it, just a little longer? Not forcing answers. Not demanding clarity. Just observing. Notice how your thoughts have changed. Notice how your reactions aren't the same as they used to be. Notice how certain things that once triggered you, now just feel irrelevant. That's not confusion. That's evolution. Here's something subtle but powerful. Before a breakthrough, your external world often becomes unpredictable, but your internal awareness becomes sharper. You start seeing patterns you didn't notice before. You recognize behaviors, both in yourself and others, with a kind of quiet clarity. It's like stepping back from a painting and finally seeing the full picture instead of just random brushstrokes. And that awareness is the real shift. Because once you see something clearly, you can't unsee it. Let's make this real. Imagine someone who has been working hard for years, chasing a goal that once felt meaningful. Suddenly, they feel disconnected from it. Motivation drops. The excitement fades. At first, they think something is wrong. Maybe they've lost discipline. Maybe they're just tired. But if they pause and look deeper, they realize something important. It's not that they've lost motivation. It's that they've outgrown the version of themselves that wanted that goal in the first place. Or think about relationships. You're around people you've known for years, but something feels off. Not dramatic, not negative, just misaligned. Conversations feel surface level. The energy isn't the same. You start pulling back, not out of anger, but because it doesn't feel natural anymore. Again, it's not loss. It's transition. And transitions are uncomfortable because they require you to let go of certainty before you gain clarity. That's the part no one talks about. Everyone wants the breakthrough. The moment where everything clicks, where life feels aligned, where things start moving forward effortlessly. But very few people are willing to sit through the phase where nothing makes sense yet. That's why most people stay where they are. Not because they can't grow, but because they don't recognize the moment growth is actually happening. So if things feel unclear right now, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking a different question. What is this trying to show me? That shift alone changes everything. Because now you're not resisting the experience, you're learning from it. And when you do that, something interesting happens. The pressure starts to ease. Not because your situation has instantly changed, but because your relationship to it has. You're no longer fighting the moment. You're working with it. You begin to trust that this phase has a purpose, even if you can't fully see it yet. And that trust creates space. Space for better decisions. Space for clearer thinking. Space for the next version of you to emerge naturally, instead of being forced. Here's another way to look at it. Before a seed becomes a tree, it doesn't just grow upward. It breaks open first. From the outside, it looks like destruction. Like something is falling apart. But that breaking is exactly what allows it to grow into something stronger. If the seed tried to stay intact, it would never become anything more. In the same way, parts of your life may feel like they're breaking right now. Plans changing. Expectations not being met. Things not working the way you thought they would. But what if that's not failure? What if that's the exact moment you're being opened up for something bigger? Not in a dramatic, unrealistic way. But in a grounded, real sense where you're becoming more aligned with who you actually are, instead of who you thought you were supposed to be. That's a different kind of success. It's quieter. More stable. Less dependent on external validation. And once you experience it, you realize something important. The breakthrough was never just about changing your circumstances. It was about changing your perspective. Because from that new perspective, you move differently. You choose differently. You respond differently. And those small shifts create completely different outcomes over time. So instead of rushing through this phase, give yourself permission to slow down just enough to understand it. You don't need all the answers today. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to stay present enough to notice what's changing within you. Because that's where the real message is. Not in some external sign or sudden moment of clarity, but in the subtle shifts happening inside you right now. The way you're thinking. The way you're feeling. The things you're starting to question. That's not confusion. That's preparation. And if you can stay with that, without running back to what's comfortable, without forcing what's next, you'll notice something. The fog begins to lift. Not all at once, but gradually. Quietly. Naturally. And when it does, you won't just have a new direction. You'll have a new understanding of yourself. And that's what makes the next step different. Because now, you're not moving out of pressure or fear or expectation. You're moving from clarity. From alignment. From a place that feels real. So if you're in that space right now, where things feel uncertain, where you're questioning more than you're answering, where it feels like something is ending but nothing has fully begun yet. Don't rush it. Don't label it as failure. And definitely don't turn back. Because this might be the exact moment before everything shifts. Not because something magical is about to happen. But because you are. And that's the kind of breakthrough that actually lasts. Just stay with it. A little longer. That's all it takes. For voiceover, let certain lines breathe. Pause slightly after, it's a signal, and again after, it's refining you. Let the tone soften during reflective parts and become slightly firmer during insights to create contrast. Use slow, minimal background music in the beginning, gradually building subtle intensity around the middle, then fading into calm tones at the end. Visually, start with fog, empty roads, and dim lighting, then slowly transition into clearer, brighter environments. Use close-up shots of small details like hands, footsteps, or still moments to create intimacy. For variation in future uploads, you can shift the core metaphor from fog to something like waiting at a closed door, or being in a silent room before a performance, or watching the tide pull back before a wave, while keeping the same emotional progression but changing microscenes and examples to maintain originality.